Good evening. No issues. We're just
Good
waiting for
evening.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
So, any questions, guys, like before starting today's session? Anything we'd like to discuss from our previous classes? Okay. So, let me share my screen. Let me give a recap what we have discussed in the previous session. So, the core concept which we have talked about in the previous session is creating a custom airbag, and then immediately we have went on creating a virtual machine. As part of virtual machine provisioning, we also seen the resource group. Resource group is something which we could call as a logical container that holds all your resources or services that can be anything in Azure. So the mandatory parameters which you need to create any resource in Azure, you should have a valid subscription as along with the one resource group. Resource group can be created on the fly, or else you can also select the existing resource group, right? After which we have talked about virtual machine name and virtual machine region, and immediately we have an high availability options. If at all, this is an optional feature. If at all you feel your workloads are critical, what we can do, we could opt one of the high availability features. We have two different set of high availability options. One is availability zones. Availability zones by default not available in all the physical regions. It is currently available very limited locations. So whereas we can keep our workloads, like let's say virtual machines, in a different physical data centers within one region. We'll call them as a regions, so that if there is any single point of failures with respect to data center, right, network, power, and cooling, so you will be not get affected for the downtime. At least your other two virtual machines will continue to run the business, right? This is what we have seen. So in the previous kind of a world slide, whereas you could see the supported regions, now the locations have been added. And these are all the supported services which could support for availability zone feature. For now, we are just discussing only virtual machine. We'll talk about subsequent sessions about all the other services, right? So let me go back to the portal now, and then let's go ahead and start creating the virtual machine and discuss the subsequent and remaining concepts. Any questions to be discussed? Okay. So as part of the virtual machine provisioning, if you could see here, right? So subscription and a resource group, I'm just selecting my existing one. That can be anything which you would like to. I'm selecting Air India Dev. So I'm just naming as Air India project. It's a dev. It's a category is a virtual machine 001, so that you can have multiple virtual machines can be created in the similar fashion. A region is I selected Central India. Availability options, as I mentioned, it is by default is an optional feature. You could directly select no infrastructure redundancy is required. It means you are saying that I don't need a high availability. If my dev virtual machine is goes down for an hour or for some time, my business is not going to impact. I'm not willing to take this service. If at all we assume there's a critical workload instead of a dev and you are keeping production, it's always recommended to keep and make use of the availability zones or availability services, right? To make sure our services are up and running all the time. So availability zone concept we already discussed. Now we're going to talk about availability set. So availability set means if you see here from my previous screen as well. So availability zone feature, right? If you see here, is it available in all the location, guys? If you see from the screenshot, do you see that availability zones as a feature? Is it available in all the locations, all regions? I mean, how you are identifying availability zones are available in these regions? Am I audible?
Yeah.
see the blue color circles will call it as a regions where you have physical data centers. Within that, you could see that there is an rhombus, white color dots in this blue color circle. So these locations is meant to have a multiple data centers in a region that is available to zone feature is available. Is that clear? If you compare with other regions, let's say South India, Chennai, do you see that that particular symbol is available here? Guys are speaking as I'm not able to hear. I'm not getting any response actually.
No, we can. We are hearing. We are there.
We are not audible to you.
No, your voice is pretty low. That's why. So now Saidi is speaking. Yeah, it's loud and clear, but I don't know. Others seems to be silent. That's okay. Now, if you see here, we have regions, whereas we don't have a availability zone feature. Okay. So I'm saying that you have availability zones, whereas you could distribute your workloads across multiple data centers, and whenever one data center goes task, there is a failure, at least you have other data centers will continue to give the service. Correct? Now, what if I don't have a high availability option? Right? That's where your availability set as a service will come into the picture. So what it means when I say availability set in that particular locations, you don't have a multiple data centers. You will be having only one physical data centers. In that available one physical data center, we'll see how exactly we can provide high availability. Right? That is nothing but we'll be achieving using that availability sets. Is that clear, guys? What we're gonna talk about now?
Yeah, availability sites.
Yeah. So when I say availability set, it is within the data center. You will be having only one data center in the respective region. You don't have multiple so that you cannot keep your workloads here and there. You need to keep within one data center only. So in availability sets, again, we have two concepts. One is fault domain, other one is update domain. So fault domain in the sense how it is going to helpful for us. Let's say you are having two virtual machines or four virtual machines is serving for one application. If we opt for the solution of availability set, right? What it will do, it will keep your workloads, your virtual machines will be running in a two different physical racks and two different physical hardware. Got me? Are you able to correlate what is meant by rack? I am referring here.
Like fragments, we are allocating some
Huh.
space to that mission.
So if you remember in our initial session, we have talked about data center concepts, right? Basics of a data center, whereas I have shown you the physical data center, how it looks like, physical racks, physical hardware, storage, network switches. Do you guys remember, able to recall that?
Yes, yes, sir.
So what I'm referring, this is what. So if you see here, this is the racks, right? Here, these are physical racks in a data center. Racks in the sense the vertical ones and the long ones from top to bottom, right? This is in size of 44 units in size, right? These will call it as a vertical ones, will call it as a racks. So as part of this concept, what I'm referring here is that you will be with the availability set concept with the fault domain. Your virtual machines will not be kept on top of single hardware or single rack so that they will make sure that these workloads will not run together. It will always share the different racks, right? Different physical hardware so that if there is an unexpected failures within the data center or respective rack or respective hardware get failed in a scenario, at least your other hardware other rack will not be get impacted. So the respective virtual machines will be continue to run. Clear, guys? What exactly it means? FD. FD stands for fault domain. Fault domain will be helpful for us when there is a unplanned maintenances. Let's say all of a sudden you are working on a system and there is a motherboard failure. There's a disk failure. There's a memory slot failure. There's a NIC card failure. We cannot expect that those downtimes, right? That will happen immediate. You won't get a warnings and then it will go fail, correct? Those kind of a problems will come on immediate. So when such kind of unexpected downtimes, unexpected maintenances occurs in a data center, by opting this fault domain as a service, it will make sure your workloads will not be keep together. It will make sure that it will run always by sharing separate rack and altogether separate physical hardware. This we will call it as a fault domain. Any questions with the fault domain?
Surinder, can you explain one time, Surinder?
So fault domain in the sense you will be having one data center. Within one data center, as part of availability set feature, in availability set you have two things. One is fault domain and update domain. Assume that you have two virtual machines serving for one application. So as part of fault domain, what it will do, the two virtual machines, right? It will keep in a two different physical racks and two different physical hardwares on top of that virtualization, and then it will run your VMs typically. Correct? This is the behind the scenes of a data center I'm saying. On a cloud level, we'll not see any of these things. You will just select I need availability set and fault domain. I'm just enabling. So in the backend, what it will do, whenever you create a VM01, it will place under FD0, fault domain 0, rack 1. And whenever you are creating second virtual machine, it will keep in rack 2 or a fault domain 2. So that whenever there is a failure happens and power supply which is coming to rack or a physical hardware level get failed where your virtual machine 01 is running, right? It will not get impacted. At least one rack, one hardware will go down. Other rack and other virtual machine, other physical hardware will continue to run and continue to serve your business.
Okay. I mean, in case if any virtual machine goes down, remaining other one it will show the availability. So then we'll not lose any date. We'll not to see any business interruption. Correct?
Correct. That's what the agenda we're trying to get it here.
Okay.
Right? Assume that you are not opting for a availability set. What Azure will do by default in the backend based on its own design, assume that by our lucky or unlucky. So if it keeping your virtual machine 01 and 02 under the same rack and same hardware, what will happen if the hardware goes failure?
So entire
Your,
application will down.
your virtual machine 01 and virtual machine 02 both will down and you will be get impacted to the business.
Okay.
So up to certain level of getting the high availability, these services will be helpful. What if entire data center goes in that no one can do anything for that? So we have other solutions of disaster and a backup. We'll talk about them, but this is something, whatever the feasible way you will get a high availability for your workloads, you will get assigned or availed using availability sets. One of the feature is fault domain. As I mentioned, fault domain will be used for your unplanned maintenances.
Here, how many fault domains we can choose for? See, you just showed us FD0,
Yeah,
FD1. Like how many I can go for? Because there are multiple racks,
max.
right?
Correct. Maximum will
Maximum
be 3.
3 max. Okay.
Yeah, in this scenario, they have selected 2 as a fault domain. So whenever you are adding your virtual machines into that particular availability set, what happened? The 4 VMs, first VM in rack 1, second VM in rack 2, again third VM will run on rack 1 and then fourth VM will go for rack 2. You see this example in this diagram. Because in this scenario, what I have done, I have selected my fault domain is value is 2 only, but maximum it supports up to 3. It means you can distribute your workloads across 3 different racks, 3 different physical hardwares.
Means all the data will be mapped, right? It's a managed disks here.
It is a managed disk. I'm referring in this scenario to individual virtual machines. That is one aspect. And disk data is individual to the virtual machine.
Okay. Meaning there will be three, I mean, if I have 3 fault domains, the right operation will be, there will be 3 logical, I mean, the connections, right, to all the 3.
Within a data center, the how it will, you will be feel like you are sitting side by side only.
Okay.
Right? This is something on a unplanned things. Like this setup will be helpful when there is a unplanned things. Assume that we may need to
So
perform the
meaning there
plan.
will be 3, no, my question is, meaning there will be 3 write operations to 3 different fault domain disks, right? See, you have mentioned, like, for example, here you are mentioned as FD0 and FD1. Okay, there is a write operation to the virtual machine, like, there is a program running and it's like, loading the data. Meaning there will be 2 parallel write operations to these 2, like, FD0 and FD1, right? To the disk.
That is the design what will make Chiranjeevi. Like, let's say
Okay.
your application is designed an individual VM and individual data. That is one aspect. And you have some kind of cluster operations. Let's say best example is your SQL DB. There is always on, right? They will use some shared disks, right? That is completely different approach.
Yeah, that's my question here, because in availabilities, I mean zone, you're just referring, like, there'll be like, see, the pointers will be in the different regions, right? Sorry, in the different zones. But here you see, you're saying like in the same zone and same data center, you're just referring to rack here. Well, my question is, like,
Still, it is
how
the
this
same.
right operations will happen.
Yeah, still it is the same behavior only because you are
Behavior will
creating
be.
virtual machines. Yeah, when I'm
Oh,
saying virtual machines, if you're running in a different racks, different zones, doesn't make any difference.
okay.
Yeah. As I've been mentioning, this will be used for unplanned maintenances. So if you see, we'll be having some kind of a planned maintenances, correct? You might be observing it when you're updating your mobiles, it will ask you to pop up for there is an update. Choose your best time to restart your mobile, correct? Similarly, for your laptops, it will be getting some kind of critical patches installed in the backend, and it will ask to restart your virtual machine or restart your laptop. Have you ever been observed it in
Yeah,
your laptop, right?
yeah, yeah.
So it will
Yes.
not automatically restart. It will ask you to restart, correct? It means it is referring to you to take a downtime or I mean like plan it by ourselves so that what will happen? We will restart the workloads whenever we are comfortable. Right? That is, we'll call it as a planned maintenances. Whenever such things are required in a Microsoft physical hardware to restart or to perform some kind of a maintenance on a physical hardware, where your workloads are running, for example, let's say you are having 3 virtual machines, update 0, update 1, and update 2. Your 3 VMs are segregated under these 3. What will happen with the update domain feature? Your back-end physical hardwares will not perform the maintenance at the same time. They will make sure that they will perform the planned maintenance at any point in time, only one update domain. They will do the maintenance. They will make up that physical hardware. They will wait for 30 minutes. Then only they will go and perform the other physical hardware maintenance. You got my point? So that whenever there is something planned things are happening, it will not impact your business. It will not make sure that it will not shut down all our virtual machines. Okay. Is it clear, guys? Update domain. These boxes are referring here is the physical hardware and vertical things are physical racks. Is it clear? Able to follow?
Yes, Surendra.
Okay. That sounds
Means
great.
means sometimes means that means whenever So we'll have some planned leave, some date they will give patching team. So
Correct.
that time we'll down the our services down.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is a similar kind of a thing because they were taking your consent, they will notify to you, and then they will perform the maintenance. Correct. So while
Yeah.
performing the maintenance, they will not do the maintenance all three at the same time. So that what will happen? Your all three VMs will go down and your business will impact. Correct.
Yeah. One by one we'll do.
Similarly, here also, if you are added the servers in update domain, then only it will get applicable. Assume that we are not selected availability set at all. What will happen? There is a chance that your VMs will run on a single hardware, and when that particular hardware has an impact or planned maintenance, what will happen? Your all
Everything.
virtual machines will be rebooted and you have a downtime for it. To mitigate that, these services will be helpful.
In that case, you said so if the same hardware using for 3 for example, if that case if we faced, what is the solution in case?
So what will happen in such kind of scenarios also when they're doing, so what will happen? They will do the live migrations. If there's a maintenance, 99.99%, they will try to migrate without kind of an intimating to us and without having any impact to the business. They will try to migrate the workloads. We'll call them live migration in the backend on a virtualization layer. If at all it is not allowing them to perform a migration also, it is definitely require a reboot that requires a restart of our virtual machines. What they will do, they will give us notification at least 30 days in advance saying that boss, this particular virtual machine has a maintenance window. This is the window, we'll do the restart. Meantime, what they will give us an offer as that if you have some time in your feasible time, you start and stop the virtual machine. Right? So that what will happen while stopping, it will stop on a faulty hardware. While starting your virtual machine, it will start on a working condition hardware. So that typically we are ourselves is migrating the virtual machine in our own convenience time. If we are not performed, we are not taken any action in the specified time. Sorry, in the specified time, your virtual machine will be rebooted and then up and running in a different hardware.
Okay, now I got it. So if the any service are running in my virtual machine, so before starting data center maintenance, we have to stop it. The whatever the services.
Now, if at all you are not opted for these solutions, and if at all Microsoft is unable to perform a live migration, if
Oh,
at all they don't have any other option, then only
okay,
they will give this notification as a last option to us. Otherwise, they will try to mitigate by themselves.
okay. But
It's a last
we,
option.
yeah, in my current organization we used to do whenever the data center maintenance. So what we'll do, whatever the services running in our side, without we should not those services should not impact. We'll pause the services during the maintenance time.
Mm-hmm.
So once the maintenance done, we'll enable the services. So if the any data we lost it during that time,
Mm-hmm.
we'll manually generate that data.
Understand. Yeah. That is a similar kind of an approach only. Because data center concept is wherever you go as a cloud or on-premise, it will never change, right? Operations maintenance should happen. Right? Like
Yeah.
your firmware upgrades will come, your OS level patching will come, your virtualization product will have some patches, which requires a restart and all of the stuff. But
Surrender
that is
one.
not what we don't need to worry about because back-end physical hardware maintenance, a virtualization maintenance, or OS maintenance of in the back-end hardware completely taken care by your cloud vendor. In this case, Microsoft Azure. Yeah.
Okay. Normally, what kind of maintenance they will do in data center side means OS level or hardware level?
Let's say, so normally you have physical hardware, right? You will get firmware upgrades. Firmware
Yeah,
in the sense your physical hardware, I am from a Microsoft, but I need to depend on a different vendor only, correct?
yeah.
Also, I'm working in a Microsoft or a Google or what are the name, you name it, the organization. They need to purchase the physical hardware from a different companies only, correct? Similarly,
Mm.
in a data center, that physical hardware also requires an upgrades. or bug fixes, I say that, right? So that firmware upgrade should happen frequently or periodically. That is one kind of a maintenance. When you want to perform firmware upgrade, that typically requires your hardware to restart.
Oh, okay.
And second level is your critical patches installation, right? Whenever you are installing some kind of an updates in your laptop, sometimes it will not allow you to shut down. It will ask you to restart and shut down. It is forced you to restart your machine because to install that updates, it requires a restart.
Okay.
These
Thank
things as a planned thing. Because you know that what is the kind of interval, for example, if you purchase the hardware from HP, you know when the HP will give a firmware upgrades or hardware upgrades, right? You will plan it accordingly well in advance and do the maintenances.
Okay, coming to cloud, so we have so many VM machines will be there. Means Air India, you said some subscription IDs will have so many
Mm.
subscriptions. So
Yeah.
how they will do maintenance means if you want to do OSL patching, one by one they will do, or else at a time everything, all missions, all subscriptions, they will do patching.
But virtual machine level patching, it is our responsibility. Microsoft will not work on that.
Okay.
Microsoft will never check on that
Okay.
because it is an infrastructure service which we have taken. No.
Okay. 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 So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Now let me go ahead and create the availability set in the portal. Yeah, this is my, now I'm selecting availability set as a service. If you see under the drop down, am I having any availability sets here? No. When you don't have an existing one, so you can go ahead and create a new availability set. You can click on new one. Here I'm just giving a name as AV set, let's say Air India Dev. All right. And this is the dev AV set. This is the 01 set. If you see the values here, what is the default values? It is an interview question. For availability set, they will ask what is mean by availability set and availability zones. When it comes to availability set, they will ask what is the default values. Default values will be two fault domains and 5 update domains. What is the maximum values, guys? 3 to 3 is the fault domain is the maximum. 20 is the update domain maximum. I can go up to 20. Is it clear, guys? This is how you can typically create your availability set. So let's say our a production application having 5 workloads or 7 workloads, you can increase it to 3 so that your 7 VMs will be segregated under three different racks, and your virtual machines and in that available 3 racks, it will use 7 different racks to deploy and run your virtual machines. Clear, guys? Any questions? Okay, these are all, we have 2 different high availability options when it comes to virtual machine. If you have, you could say another one, something called virtual machine scale set. So virtual machine scale set, we'll talk about later what is mean by scale set and other stuff. For now, if it's a virtual machine, we have 2 things. One is availability zones, other one is availability set. If I choose the location, you will understand the difference. Let's say I'm just choosing my location as South India, for example. What will happen if we click on the high availability options? Are you notice that availability zone feature is degraded and availability set only is in an enabled state? Are you able to identify this?
Yeah.
So why it is not been enabled?
Yeah.
If you see, because you have selected a region as South India. South India doesn't have
Okay.
zone
Okay.
feature enabled. That's why whenever you are selecting a region where you don't have availability zone, there's an expected behavior that it will not allow you to select. Okay.
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Next one is security type. You have something called.
Surendra, for suppose like if you selected.
Yeah, go ahead, Chiranjeevi.
No, I have a question. See, when you selected, say, fault domain, as you showed in the, earlier, setup, right? You said like, by default, it will be 2 fault domains and 5 update domains, right?
Yes, correct.
Sorry, update. Yeah, yeah. So for like after setting, after configuring those, like, will it be a final value? If I want to increase or decrease, can I do it? Can I modify this? Say for example, like, once a VM was in place, will it auto ask me to add another fault domain for if I, in case if I need it for it?
I don't think so,
Will it,
Chiranjeevi.
will
It
it,
won't allow.
will it won't
Even
allow you to modify?
yes, it won't allow you to modify. And one more important thing which I would like to inform here is, let's say you create a virtual machine without high availability, and you want
Right.
to, after that you feel it's critical and add it to the high availability. That is also not possible. You need to
Okay,
decide
it won't allow. It's a
at first.
one-time setup. Like we need to be very much planned to, before creating a virtual machine, right?
That's absolutely correct.
Parameters need to be clear. Okay.
Yes, correct. At least we should have an understanding whether it requires a high availability or not. First question, first understanding. Second thing, let's say today we are designing for a 4 virtual machines. Design it for next, how if it becomes next 3 years, if it becomes 3 times of multiply your business and you require 3 times of a workload, and design in a manner so that and it will suffice for your future requirement as well.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah. And you have something called security. So by default, it will be on standard. It doesn't have kind of a basic level. But if you could go with this other option, trusted launch virtual machine, what will happen? It will enable the security against while you're booting your virtual machine itself. If you see this option, right, trusted launch virtual machine, this is applicable for generation 2. In your Hyper-V, let's go through this document whenever you have a free time by tomorrow. In Hyper-V, your virtual machines have a 2 generations, generation 1 and generation 2. It is this particular feature is applied only for a generation 2 virtual machines, latest virtual machines. It does support for your secure boot feature. It means what will happen? It will enable, right? As soon as if you select this option, what will happen? It will enable secure boot and then trusted platform module. So it will validate the booting as well as the platform where it is running. It will make sure that it's been trusted and it is running on a trusted physical hardware. It will validate the security for it. Right? It has been newly introduced. This feature is not available, I could say, um, like I could say last 4 or 5 months before we don't have this feature at all. But yeah, Microsoft is keep on enhancing their capabilities and services. This is one among the option. For now, I'm not selecting any security option for my training. And next option is image. What is mean by image here? Image is nothing but your operating system. So by default, we have so many operating systems, whatever you name it today, which you'd like to create in Azure, let's say Windows, Linux operating systems like your Ubuntu, Red Hat, SUSE, Oracle, Debian, all right? You name it, whatever the operating system which is there in the market, 99.9% of the operating system services is available by default. Is it clear, guys? Hope you guys have an understanding about what is mean by operating systems, servers, Windows servers, Linux servers. Typically, on top of a server only, will run our applications. To run our applications, we need to, while creating a virtual machine, we are just selecting what kind of an operating system I want to select for my VM001. So in this scenario, by default, it is picking up 2019. Right? 2016 also Microsoft does support, and now 2022 also is available in the market. Slowly 2016 also will go away and supported versions will be 2019 and 2022. Similarly, we have your Ubuntu, it supports all your 18 and 20. And then if you see free services are available, we have SUSE Linux, Red Hat. For Oracle also, Oracle Linux is there, LVMs. Debian you have CentOS and all other operating systems. Even you have a client OS also, like Windows 10 also is available. So that if you want to install and test something as an end user with respect to your business, still you could make use of it. Okay, clear? Apart from this operating systems, if I click on see all images, apart from this generic plain operating systems, you have an solutions which are embedded to your operating systems and readily available as a VM. You name it, whatever the product in your mind, whatever the application in your mind, it will be available in marketplace. Do you have anything in your mind? Let's say databases you want, or let's say in web applications you are looking at some kind of development services. You name it, any services which you heard in your experience on a technology will get validated. So why I'm asking that, so that you will get to know whatever the product you are looking at, that product will come by embedded to your operating system. So what will happen as soon as you create that virtual machine, that while turning on itself, we have the product installed and configured, ready to serve, ready to use. Anything in your mind, folks? Because I cannot drag and explain everything. That's why I was just asking, do you have anything in your mind so that I could search and give that an example? Okay, let me take my one examples. Let's say if you want to run one website, what you need? You need a web service, right? What is the web service for Linux?
Tomcat.
Yeah, it's an Apache Tomcat, correct?
Mm.
If I just type Apache and then click on enter, do you see how many services are available for me? Right? If I go here, select and click on this option, if I create this, what it will come? It will install my Ubuntu server. On top of it, Apache web server will get installed. If you see in the description here, and then one in between MySQL server will get installed and PHP will get installed on top of Ubuntu server. So you no need to install, configure the Apache. You no need to install and configure the MySQL and PHP. Everything will come as a pre-configured. You just need to pick the right one which is needed for your business and click on create. Clear, guys? This is not only for your application development. You name it, any area of services which is there in the market today, everything is available. You name it in a security, you name it in a network, that is also available. Because it's a physical data center, you purchase the physical hardware boxes, physical switches, you will manage. But when it comes to cloud, you don't have physical access, right? What they have done, they made everything as virtual. They were offering you the service as a product by embedded to your operating system. Most of the products will use open source, because if they use Windows, they need to get paid for license. So if you see, most of the guys will use a Linux operating systems like Ubuntu, CentOS, and SUSE, that kind of an operations. If you see, Apache itself is offering by how many services companies here? Cloud Infrastructure Services, Nice Partner Inc., Bitnami is giving a service for you, and then Integral is giving a service here, Bitnami is giving, and then Pnop is giving. So like that, you have n number of a vendor. Which are the vendor you feel comfortable, you go ahead and select. As simple as that, right? Any other product you would like to check? Let's say I want to check for SQL. I don't have a license with me. I'm not in a position to install and configure my SQL server. Are you see here? We have so many things. SQL Server 2019 on Windows Server 2019. So what will happen if I create this virtual machine, guys? Yeah. What will happen if I create this virtual machine SQL Server 2019? I will get created one Windows Server 2019. In that, SQL Server will be embedded and then installed. I now need to install my SQL Server. Server is readily available. You DBA just connect and start using the databases. Here, this is how in a marketplace you have all the types of images.
Sir,
Now, yes, sorry, please.
so while means you said VM we are creating VM. So what are the service we required? We are creating that one.
It is
So
not mandatory. I'm just saying that it is available with cloud. If at all you need, you could make use of it. Yes.
okay, we are admin. So so whenever the ticket will come, so they will mention this and all. What are the service they need? They need to be. We need to be installed in while creating VM mission. What are the service they need? They need.
When it comes to that scenario, Saidu, so it depends on the company and the culture where you have been working. Because let's say if you have a decision making authority, right? Let's say the request is coming to create, the people are asking to create one web server, one database server, and one Windows server.
Okay.
Right? Three servers they are asking in the request to run very small application. Assume that you know that background of the application. It is very small application. It's a very less usage. That too for a POC purpose or a development purpose. So in a cloud, to fulfill that request, you may need to create and deploy three servers typically, correct? One web server, one database server, one PHP server to fulfill the requirement. Instead, what you can come and say that by your experience, by creating three servers, by paying for three different workloads, your cost will be these many dollars, but you can achieve by creating one Ubuntu server where you will get Apache, SQL, PHP, everything in one vision only. You just test it over or use this server as a service.
Okay.
So,
Do we
because
need? Do we
end
need?
users will not aware the cloud solution, right?
Okay. Okay. Do we?
Because you and me are trained on it, you and me has an exposed on it, so we know. But as an end user who is submitting a request for you, he will definitely doesn't have any understanding of a cloud. He just give you the request only or requirement. So it is our responsibility to guide him through with the best practices and a best solution.
That's why I'm asking. Yeah, that's my question. We need to
Yeah.
convey to him. We have to set up a call to him, and we have to explain it. Do we
Mhm.
need to do we need to explain this and that to the, for example, any end user coming outside? We need to set up a call to that guy. Is it required?
No, it is not like everyone you could give an explanation. So this is available services. If you know what he is coming for, then it is fine. Let's say there is a scenario, your a SQL or a DBA team is struggling to get a licenses for their server. Typically, what you will give for them, you will give only Windows server. They will install the SQL server along with they will bring their own license. Correct? Assume that there is a scenario they want to create a database, or they don't have a license with them.
Hmm.
You could guide them, boss. You have an Azure, you have a SQL server installed and configured, is readily available. You can use it for now because license also will be taken care by Microsoft and charges will be extra for it. But you have solution is ready, right? They no need to go to management, get the license, assign it. The business no need to wait for it. Correct. This is the typical scenarios I'm seeing.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Why I'm explaining and taking out this much of amount of a time is that when it comes to real time, when it comes to security, they don't have any other option. They need to use these products. Security guys. Let's say they want to use a firewall because they have been well versed with the current firewall what they're using. So same product they want to bring it in cloud also. right? You name it any firewall device that will be available as a virtual machine here. If you see this Palo Alto, hope you guys, most of you guys have heard of this product. Palo Alto is like kind of market leader when it comes to security and firewall setup. And we have FortiGate, you have a Cisco firewalls and all other stuff, right? You name it, any product that will be available in cloud. So as it is belongs to network security, these products will call it as a NVAs. What is mean by NVAs? Network virtual appliances. Clear? If I create this virtual machine, what will happen? This virtual machine will come up for me, Palo Alto firewall solution. This server will behave as a firewall device. Clear? In most of the environments, I could say that 90% of the environments in cloud, they will use these appliances to secure their workloads. It can be a Palo Alto, it can be a Cisco, you name it, any firewall, those products will be available. If you see here, all Cisco routers, Cisco products, and then if you see FortiGate, if you see FortiGate firewalls, you name it, anything which you know, like L5, for example, L5 load balancers, whatever you are using in a data center as your networking team, right? All the products, right, will be, let's say, load balancer, this mm, load balancer, physical device, everything is available as a virtual machines in Azure. So as the security products also available as a virtual machines, those products will call it as an appliances. If it is related to network, we'll call them as a NVAs, network virtual appliances. If someone is asking you that I'm having two NVAs in my environment, if they're explaining you their environment by using this keyword, it typically what it means, they are using two security firewalls from a Azure virtual machines. Thus virtual machines are behaving as a security firewalls. Is it clear, guys?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, if you see, these are all Palo Alto products, right? Netgate firewalls. You have so many things like VSN, VNS products, right? Whatever you name it, whatever you are being using today in on-premises, all those devices will be available as appliances. So that you no need to think that, okay, I'm having physical in my data center. I want to say use same in Azure. That should not be a roadblocker, right? They Azure cannot force you to use Azure firewalls. That's where they are offering you all the set of devices and the solutions so that you could make use of them. Clear? Any questions? Images, guys. Now you have a clear understanding. Okay. If there is no questions with the images, we'll go to the next concept, that is Azure Spot instances. So what is mean by Spot instances, guys? This Spot instances is nothing but in every Azure data center, whichever is, let's say, unused capacity. Assume that it is not even been using this capacity is ideal been sitting. So that kind of capacity Azure offers as a Spot instances with a very cheaper price. When Azure is giving you as the cheaper price, they have every right to take back those services whenever they are in need. Right? That is what here it is saying. There is eviction type. Eviction in the sense taking back by Microsoft. There is two things. Eviction type is we have two types. Eviction policy we have two types. First, I will explain eviction policy, stop and delete. When I say first option, what will happen whenever the Microsoft is required? It will give a notification and it will stop our virtual machine. We don't have any control. Microsoft will stop the virtual machine or deallocate the virtual machine. Assume that if you're selecting delete as a eviction policy, what will happen? Microsoft will delete the virtual machine whenever they need a capacity back. Okay. Clear? When it comes to eviction type, you have a capacity. So what will happen when it will evict in the sense it will come back to the previous state whenever there is a capacity is needed for Azure with a pay-as-you-go workload, a pay-as-you-go casting mechanism. Microsoft will take back that whenever they need a capacity. Second option, you have price or capacity. With this price or capacity, what will happen? You can bid the amount. Let's say currently they are charging for 0.02097. If you see here under a down, you could see this is the amount they are charging today. That's why what they are asking, enter a price greater than or equal to hardware cost. Right? What they're saying, you can enter the value you're bidding. Let's say I want to use my virtual machine $0.09 till $0.09 only I'm willing to pay. If at all Azure is increasing the demand, if the casting is going $0.1, for example, what will happen? My eviction policy will come into the picture. Till the time if Microsoft increasing the demand from 0.2 to 0.3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, $9. Till here it will tolerate and use this as a capacity as a eviction type. As soon as your demand is growing in Microsoft data center, they need their capacity back and they're increasing the prices to $0.1, for example. By the time what will happen? It will implement the eviction policy, whatever I have chosen here. This is some kind of a cost benefit solution, but this solution is not meant to use for your real time scenario. This is only useful when you are doing some kind of a POC. If server is down, server is not available, you don't have any problems. In such cases only, go ahead and enable it. Otherwise, for your normal workloads of your development or production, do not use this spot instances.
Means that means whenever the cost increasing, the service will stop automatically. If you
No,
don't.
it is, let's say in a normal prices cycle, you have you are choosing, let's say, 2 core and 8 GB of RAM for your virtual machine. You are paying for $100 for every month. That is the standard cost, right? Apart from the standard cost, Azure will offer you for $20 itself per month, cheaper prices.
Okay.
That cheaper workloads only, these policies, spot instances will be applicable, not for actual workloads. That will be standard cost. That will never vary.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, Surendra.
Able to follow, guys? What is mean by spot instances? Any questions? Okay. So today, what all we have been covered? We have covered about high availability options, that is availability sets. Availability set will be used to provide high availability within a data center by using fault domains and update domains. Again, fault domain will be used for a unplanned maintenances. Update domains will be used for planned maintenances. And then we have talked about images where we have a reference to show all different kinds of operating systems and a server operating systems which are available to create as a virtual machine. Apart from that, you have all products also available by embedded to your operating system that will cause an appliances. If those appliances are using for network and security, we'll call them as a NVAs. Why I'm precisely explaining these NVAs, you need to make a note of it. This is being used in every organization, but not maintaining by you and me. For that, will be creation and provisioning will be taken care by me, but managing those firewalls and network security level will be handling by your infosec or security team in the organization. And then we have talked about Azure Spot instances. These are the three different concepts or topics we have been covered today. Next session, we'll talk about your sizings. Like let's say you want to assign one core 3.5 GB, 16 core or 128 GB for your virtual machines. What are the different sizes Azure does offer? How you can differentiate those sizings? All those things we'll have a discussion in next session. right? That's it for today. Any questions before closing today's session?
Means still not at create VM mission, correct?
Sorry?
We are not at create VM mission.
No, not it. So we are in a process of understanding all the options which will come across as part of your VM provisioning.
So then in real time, we will select available set, available zone, these and all set, and these options will select. Will
If
you
the
select?
production, yes, if the production answer is yes,
Okay.
you should select.
How it will help you explain data center this and all. In coming to real time, this and all, it will useful means when you are working something, this and all. It will this whatever you explain, this and all will helpful that time.
Yes, that is typically needed. No, otherwise, if someone is asking, like, let's say there is a production outage to your workloads, your business. When it comes to RCA, you need to provide an RCA why your application is down, correct?
Yeah.
So when you're saying that virtual machine is down because Microsoft has unable to provide uptime to my hardware in the backend, so my VMS is down, I cannot do anything. That's what you will answer, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So that's where when you go back to the Microsoft will say that, boss, because you have poor architecture, you are not used availability zone, you are not used availability sets, and how you're expecting the application to run all the time. You need to opt for a best practice. What Microsoft SME or Microsoft architect will come and say, he will review and say that, boss, you are not even use this. If you go with this referent architecture, your application will be highly available.
Okay.
So without using high availability also, you can run the show. But when it is all matters when something happens. Okay. Any questions?
For one subscription, I have to. In one subscription, how many VM we can create it? We can create.
You have a limit to use by default up to 1,000 cores.
Okay.
1,000 cores. If at all we are like kind of reaching that quota, we can always request Microsoft to increase the quota. That is not been a problem.
In one subscription, for example, AR&D one subscription ID will there. So for one subscription, we can create up to 1,000. How much?
Yeah, 1,000 cores.
Oh.
That 1,000 cores in the sense one VM you can give one CPU,
Okay. Okay.
100 VM you can give 10 cores. You got my point, right? How you
Yeah.
actually used it. But if you are get over with that available quota, you can always go ahead and request Microsoft to enable the quota. That they will do in the backend. Okay. Any other questions? Venkat, Asha, Siva, Chiranjeevi. Okay. If there is no further questions, we'll wind up the session for today and we'll come back for tomorrow, same time. Yep. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining. See you tomorrow.
So
Okay.
then, do you have any document? I mean, so just to read this and so you
We
should.
have official documentation. Probably I will get shared in the group and I will also update the reference URLs in the SharePoint. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Sri Harsha. Shiva, sorry. Harsha? Harsha?
యా సైదు
క్వశ్చన్ పిచ్చి పిచ్చిగా అడుగుతున్నా, మంచిగా అడుగుతున్నా?
మంచిగా అడుగుతున్నా సైదు, మంచిగా అడుగుతున్నావు.
తప్పుంటే క్షమించు, వీలైతే మన్నించు.
సర్లే మార్నింగ్ మాట్లాడుతుంది. బాయ్, గుడ్ నైట్.
గుడ్ నైట్. ఏంది వీకెండ్ టైంలో గుడ్ నైట్ చెప్తావు?